And we're live.
Welcome to Backyard Sportscast, where your host talks about sports, eats peanut butter, and drinks beer. I am Dirty Jake, and with me, DJ Dub, but you know that by now. You're the same 10 people that listen to this every week or 2 weeks out or comments on our Facebook page. So what do we have? We have lots going on today. Danny, you wanna start talking about it?
Sure. I'll go over some of the changes that have been made.
More changes.
We've listened to all of your zero feedback, and we just went with what we wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
We have gone from a top 10 to a top 5. Now that we're only covering college football, we decided to knock down the top 10. We thought top 5 would be still enough to cover things that happened in the past weekend. Other than that, we've moved Baylor Watch, the Heisman Watch, Danny's Dudes, or Danny's Weekly Heismans, or, Super Stats. All of that to its own segment. We've also got Whoa Bro and Was It Justified in its own segment. And we've also moved the committee rankings to its own segment.
Great.
So we've knocked down a little bit of the top 10 into a top 5, and we've moved some of the weekly top 10 items into their own segments.
You could have just said that in 10 seconds.
We've also added Danny's Money, in which
we talk about what would you put Danny's money on. By game.
We've gone late into the season to start this, so my record is 0-0 on all of my items on Danny's Money.
But it's still a fun thing that we'll just,
We've also added fan topics, since we've had some input on Facebook the last few weeks. Since we post something the day of the recording, we've had some comments.
And we won't even look at the subjects until the time comes.
Yeah. We just like to, be surprised. So when there's 0, we'll just end the podcast.
And then when you don't like our analysis of your topics, that's because we had 0 preparation. So I hope we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, there you go.
So, top 5.
Top 5.
This is kind of a recurring joke for me anyways, but Butch Jones, finally fired.
He is finally gone. Why?
Last we talked about it a couple weeks ago, we were talking about, he's not going to get fired this season. There's no reason to fire him. He's been awful this season. Tennessee has been terrible.
Yeah.
They lost again. Who did they lose to this weekend?
They lost to Missouri, I think 50-17.
Yeah, I got romped.
Yeah.
And, he lost in, after 4+ years at Tennessee, he went 34-27.
Yeah, this was his 5th year at Tennessee. 34-27 is not going to get it done.
But it's a positive record, though.
It is a positive record, but Tennessee doesn't want to just go positive.
Tell me about the buyout.
Buyout for Butch Jones, $8 million. And that's mainly due to he's got $2.5 million left per year through 2021. I don't know what math is done for the buyout. It's obviously not the rest of his contract, because that would be about $10 million. But the buyout will be mitigated by his salary of his new job. So if he gets a new job making $4 million or so, then the buyout will be less. If he doesn't get a new job, I think he is entitled to the full buyout, however. So Tennessee, probably hoping he gets a new job where he's paid a decent amount of money.
I'm sure they'll talk him up, too. Oh, he's a great coach. Gets the job done.
Yeah. My problem with this, it's fine. He needed to be fired probably at the end of the season or earlier this season. But
last season.
This is weird timing. With 2 games left in the season, they're not going to make a bowl game. Why now?
We're tired of seeing his, angry Hulk face.
Yeah, I mean, the AD came out and said something along the lines of, it's time to go in a different direction, and we realize that this isn't what we want to be doing. And apparently the athletic director wanted to hold on to him for a little bit longer, but he said the complaining's gone too loud, and the calls for Butch Jones have just been too numerous to ignore. But I don't get it. 2 games left in the season. What's the purpose?
The only thing I can think of is we don't know what goes on in the locker room, and if his presence there is such a negative impact on the team morale and the players and stuff, that might be your reason to get rid of him.
Yeah, but he's been doing it for 10, 11 weeks already this year, so your team morale is probably not going to be too great anyway. And even after he left, they lost some recruits. I mean, there's no real benefit to doing it now as opposed to at the end of the season or
I hear you.
5 weeks ago.
It's got to be something internal. That's the only reason why you'd let him go with 2 games left. It's just something internal.
It's a little questionable on Tennessee's part.
Yeah.
But they've been a part of some questionable hirings and firings over the years. So
yeah, so good riddance.
Not much of a surprise there.
Number 2. Go ahead, Danny.
You want to cover yours, or you want me to go to?
No, you can go ahead.
Okay. Chip Kelly being vetted for the Florida job. But there is a bylaw in the SEC that could prevent him from going to an SEC school.
Ooh, tell me about that.
All right. The SEC, the Southeastern Conference, has a bylaw in their rules. Bylaw 19.8.1.2 to be specific, stating that with any coaching candidate involved with a past major violation, the school president has to consult with the SEC commissioner prior to offering employment. Now, the SEC commissioner has already said he would not block a move for Chip Kelly for Florida. I believe it will hold true for any of the schools in the SEC, but for those who don't know, Chip Kelly, when he was with Oregon, 2013, the school got hit with a failure to monitor violation. There was a 7-on-7 coach that had been dealing with some high school talent that had been directing players to Oregon. And that's an NCAA violation, obviously, and that's considered a major violation. So it has to be approved by the SEC commissioner, or at least they have to consult with the SEC commissioner before they offer him any employment. There was a rumor going around a couple days ago, it might have been yesterday or 2 days ago, that Chip Kelly had the job already at Florida, but somebody came out and said that no,
They haven't even talked yet.
That's not true. No numbers have been discussed. They have vetted him, but there hasn't been any agreement or any sort of contract signed. So I don't know. How would you feel about Chip Kelly going to Florida?
I guess I wouldn't hate it. He didn't do too bad at Oregon. They had that one weird situation, and he hasn't been doing too hot in the NFL when he was in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, he was a good college coach.
Yeah.
It's a big name hire. I don't know if that's what Florida wants or...
Well, they haven't had a big name hire in a while, so maybe it's good.
Yeah, I mean, these last two hires haven't worked out too great, and they've been kind of lesser-known coaches out there.
I don't know. I got excited over McElwain, and he was a letdown, so I don't know what to think anymore. I'm still butthurt out about how Florida's been performing this season. They're going to lose to UAB this week.
Yeah, and Joe, I stalked him a little on Twitter today, and saw that he tweeted at his wife, Steve Spurrier will not be involved in this coach hiring process. So he says he has full confidence in Scott Strickland.
Good for him.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling Chip Kelly to Florida, honestly. I don't know that it's a great fit, but
you're just jealous because he's not going to Buffalo or UCF or Florida State.
No, that's none of it. I don't really want Chip Kelly. Interesting rumors from Florida State, though. People are speculating Jimbo Fisher to Texas A&M.
What?
Yeah. Speculation, though. He's involved in coaching rumors every year. Mm-hmm. Surprised that people are so high on him after the year he's had there.
Yeah.
But
it's a steal at this point.
Yeah, trying to get some value, I guess.
Yeah. On to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Armageddon. Last week's crazy NCAA week. 7 top 25 versus top 25 matchups. Right?
Yeah.
Some teams got romped, indeed. Notre Dame, Michigan State, and Georgia all were victims of this. Yeah. Notre Dame beat Miami 41-8.
No, they got beat by Miami 41.
Excuse me. It's the peanut butter.
Okay.
Notre Dame lost to Miami 41-8. Michigan State was beaten by Ohio State 48-3, and Georgia was beat by Auburn 40-7. That's a lot of
17.
40s. Peanut butter, damn it.
Yeah.
40-17.
Yes.
What do you make of this? What do you think happened? Was the hype too much for them?
It's a bit of a letdown because, like you said, it was 7 top 25 matchups last week, 3 top 10 matchups, and all 3 of those were 3-score games. A little bit of a letdown. We'll get to TCU in a second, but Notre Dame was a big surprise. Miami jumped all over them early. That turnover chain is working wonders for Miami over there. I saw that they have 4+ turnovers against Power 5 schools in 4 straight games. Mm-hmm. And that may be the first time that's ever happened. Their turnover differential's like plus 15 on the year or something crazy, but
it's that chain.
The swagger at the U is definitely at an all-time high. It's interesting to watch them play. If they play like that,
who's going to beat them?
Right, it's going to be tough to see anybody that can beat them. I still don't think they're a complete team.
No.
But the last 2 weeks, they've really impressed me, at least. They
surprised me. I've been thinking week by week that it's their time to lose, but to go week after week and have 2 back-to-back strong wins over some good teams, that's
they handled Virginia Tech and they throttled Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame was one of the hottest teams in the nation.
Yeah. Michigan State, this wasn't as huge of a game as the other two that I've listed, but...
No, but it was 12 versus... Michigan State was ranked 12th. Ohio State was ranked 13th. You'd expect a competitive game. It was important in the Big Ten race, and Ohio State went up 35-0 at one point. And
they were pissed off
yeah,
from losing last week.
this one was never close. There's not much else to really say about that. Ohio State just went out and destroyed them.
Yep. But, hey, you thought Michigan State was overrated this whole season?
Yeah, I mean, I did. We all said, Devin, told us to take Michigan State plus 17 last week, and I was on that train too, but that got shot to...
Good thing we didn't start
out.
Danny's money last week.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have put it on there, but...
You would have.
I might have. I might have put it on the teaser part of it, but that was not a fun game.
No. And then lastly, Georgia, which everybody was, super high on them. Everyone thought this was going to be a close game, but Georgia was this team that came out of nowhere and ended up being number one with the backup quarterback and some good running backs, and then they get manhandled by Auburn. Auburn looking to make a playoff appearance with 2 losses in the SEC.
Yeah, this one was interesting. Like you said, everybody thought it was going to be close. I could see Auburn winning that game. It wasn't a stretch to think Auburn was going to win that game, but
no one thought they were going to
right. Nobody thought they would come in and beat them by 23. All 3 of these teams lost on the road. Georgia, that hurts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're still in the SEC championship. They may see Auburn, they may see Alabama, but they're going to have to win that game to get back in now.
Yeah,
that one hurts. Auburn looks good now. They look real good.
Let's see if that wasn't a one-hit wonder.
It's going to be a fun game against Alabama.
Yeah, for the Iron Bowl.
Yep.
So on to the next one.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, we all know I love my teams.
Get over it.
Yeah, everybody can just get over it. So for my, my alma mater and my favorite school here, we'll go over that quickly. Florida State beaten 31-14 by Clemson. Game was a little closer than the score suggests. Florida State was only down.
There we go.
They were only down 17-14 with about 5-6 minutes left, I think, in the game. But they are now 3-6 on the season. They do get Delaware State up next, which is exciting.
They have to win out.
They do have to win out to make a bowl. So does Florida. So that'll be an interesting game.
Give up on Florida. UAB, let's just go on straight. I don't think it's on the docket today. Florida is not winning against UAB.
You think they're going to lose to first year back in the FBS program?
Say what you want about first year back.
UAB.
They have 7 wins this season. They're 7-3
Yeah, no,
right now.
it's impressive. But
So the whole
they
first year back thing is out the window.
well, they haven't seen a school as talented as Florida this year.
Okay, and freaking LSU lost to an FCS school, or Troy.
They did lose to Troy. Yes.
Arkansas almost lost to an Coastal Carolina.
Yeah.
I mean,
For the record, I think Troy would put up a better fight in this game, but I think Florida's going to be just fine.
we'll see about that.
But it will be.
It's not so much as the talent; it's just they've lost all will to play this season. You saw that even after McElwain left. When they just laid down to Missouri, and they look... I mean, they played kind of close to South Carolina, but I think the only thing driving that is they wanted to beat their old head coach.
Did they reschedule their Northern Colorado game?
No, they're not as petty as Florida State is.
So they only play 11 games.
Yes.
So they officially can only get to 5 wins.
Yes.
Okay. Well, then their season's pretty much over.
Yeah.
They can just lay...
Now it's over? Now the season's over?
They can just lay an egg against Florida State, let us get to 6-6 and continue our bowl streak. Thanks.
No, that's the only other game they're going to play. They're going to try in.
Well, if you don't think they're going to beat UAB, I don't know how you think they're going to beat Florida State.
And again, it's a matter of want to at this point.
Anyway. And that game was 24-14 going into the last drive. Clemson had pretty much sealed it, and instead of kneeling the ball, they kind of just kept running it up the middle, and Florida State couldn't stop them, so to Clemson's credit, they put another score on them. A little bit of a rivalry statement, I guess, but I think Florida State should put that one on the bulletin board for next year. Remember that?
Yeah, if they even are competitive next year.
They should be. We'll see. We all thought they would be competitive this year.
Hey, tell me about the other team that you
like.
like.
UCF beat UConn 49-24.
I'm yawning.
It's all the same for UCF. Yeah, you're yawning, but USF over there with their 1 loss.
They're ranked again, okay?
Yeah. All but 1 win for UCF has been by 10 or more points this season, and 6 of 9 wins have been by 25 plus.
Question, I know we're getting a little ahead, but what's UCF ranked right now?
15th in the college football rankings.
All right, so we have 1 loss, and only have 8 spots ahead of USF.
Yeah, but
I'm saying that as in I think UCF should be ranked higher for being undefeated.
Well, they're never gonna They're never gonna put them high they didn't beat anybody.
Nah.
And their toughest game of the year, Georgia Tech, got canceled. They're only gonna play 11 games. And they are the number 1 scoring offense in the FBS with an average of 48.6 points per game. It's been an impressive year for Scott Frost.
Yeah, and he's going to be leaving.
Yeah, we'll see.
So the next one, TCU got beaten up during Armageddon.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we could talk about how they lost 38-20 at Oklahoma. We could talk about how great Baker Mayfield is, and we'll probably get to that later in this podcast.
Yeah, we will.
This amazing defense gave up 38 points and this and that and that. But I feel bad for TCU. You know, they had a couple weeks ago, they were in the playoff mention, number 4 in the country. And then in this game alone, Darius Anderson, their leading rusher, now out for season.
Rough.
And their quarterback, Kenny Trill Hill, questionable for this week. And I think they have like 5 or 6 other players that vary from defense and receivers and stuff that are also injured going into this game against Texas Tech, which is one of the bottom feeders in the Big 12 here, but still not a cakewalk.
No, that's not a cakewalk at all, and
especially when you're losing your 2 productive players on offense.
Well, yeah, if Kenny Hill doesn't play, that makes it a real interesting game for Texas Tech because they're going to put up some points, despite how good TCU's defense is.
Yeah.
So TCU's going to have to be able to score.
So I think the only silver lining there is that Darius Anderson was actually the backup for their original starting running back, and he got hurt at the beginning of the season. And he's just been really good, so they've let him have most of the carries. But that original starting running back, his name escapes me. He's healthy and he's ready to play. So at least they shouldn't be hurting too much in the running back spot. And without Kenny Hill, they're going to be relying heavily on him.
This is a big game for TCU. They got to win this game to stay alive in the Big 12 championship race. Yeah. Right now they're tied with Oklahoma State and West Virginia. They beat them both, so they are technically in second and in the championship game as of right now.
Yeah. So good luck to the Horny Frogs.
Yeah. Good luck. That's it for our top 5, yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
Neat. Wasn't that much better than top 10? What time are we at, Danny?
We're at 17 and a half minutes.
Dang, usually we finish our top 10 at like
30.
40.
Yeah.
Baylor watch. Did they win?
No. They lost 38-24 to Texas Tech.
Ooh.
Yeah, so the March to 11 losses continues.
I wonder if on Danny's Money if you have that game going on.
I do not.
Ooh.
They play Iowa State this week.
And the spread is only like 7.5 points.
It's 9.5. Iowa State's favored by 9.5. But Kyle Kempt, the starting quarterback for Iowa State, is questionable for this game. So that may be why it's a little lower than you expect.
Huh.
I'm not sure because I know Baylor can put up some points. Iowa State's kind of reeling. They're 6-4 now after that great start to the season.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't put my money on it, I guess is what I'm saying. So
yeah.
I still think Baylor loses this game, gets their 10th loss, but that magical 10th loss.
It's beautiful anytime you see 10 in your record.
Yeah, as beautiful as it is to see a team go 12-0 or whatever, it's also beautiful to see a team go 1-11, 0-12.
It's almost as hard to do that as to go undefeated.
Yeah.
It's hard to lose that many games.
Yeah, a couple years ago I watched UCF go 0-12. That was fun.
You have great teams that you follow.
Yeah. Hey, they're doing well this year.
It's probably like paying off. All right, so you want to go into worst game of the week? I think talking about Baylor is a perfect segue into this.
Yeah, go for it. Go for your worst game of the week.
Hey, I'm 9-2 this season on it.
With the Vandals and the Chanticleers.
Okay, so Coastal Carolina makes its 3rd appearance in worst game of the week. I am 0-2 with their picks. One time I picked against them and they won, and then I chose them to win and they lost. I think that game was against Georgia State. So I was kind of scared when this is like the only viable option to choose in the FBS. I did look at...
By the way, let's just, before we go any further,
Mm-hmm.
This week of college football is god-awful compared to last week's college football.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We have one ranked versus ranked opponent this week, and it's Wisconsin versus number 24 Michigan. That's it.
Yep.
That's all you got. You got Alabama playing Mercer.
Yeah.
FCS school.
Then the problem thing is, I always, like last 3 years I've been doing this week has been great for worst games of the week. But there's no, like, one win team against another win team. like a 1-win team.
You got a lot of 5-5s versus 5-5s or 4-6s out there. It's a lot of middle of the road teams playing middle of the road teams. The high end teams are playing FCS schools or bottom of the barrel.
Yep.
A lot of them, I will say this, a lot of them are getting ready for rivalry week next week. So I think that's why you see this every year.
Yeah. So I was very close. I started typing up worst game of the week. That was just FCS, including Arkansas Pine Bluffs.
Nice.
But I was like, couldn't really find stats for them. Didn't want to put in the extra effort. I'm like, yeah, Coastal Carolina, they can earn it. They can do this again. So, Coastal Carolina 1-9, playing at Idaho, who's 3-6. Idaho is favored by 9. I'm not going to go into too much detail about this game. I've talked about Coastal Carolina a lot. Both teams have pretty good offenses. They're pretty comparable. Both score 24 and 23 points a game. But the difference is their defense. Coastal Carolina gives up about 38 points a game defensively, and Idaho gives up 29. So it's almost a 10-point difference. And I think that's going to be the difference in this. So I'm gonna go with Idaho winning this pretty easily.
Yeah, I will give a disclaimer. I did say that this week in college football is awful, but I think last year we had a similar week like this where there weren't a lot of ranked matchups. And I think 7 top 25 teams fell last year around this time. I mean, this is a trap week. Everybody's looking forward to the rivalry game next week, and you can get knocked out by somebody far inferior to you this year.
Hey, we might be able to see another FCS school be an FBS school, like early on in the season.
Yeah, it's not as likely to happen this week, but we'll see.
You never know.
You never know.
So that's my worst game of the week. I'm looking to go 10-2, get to see that magic 10 in my record.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and fact check that at some point this season. I don't know how much of the spread he's been incorporating into his worst game of the week picks.
Well, there's never been a spread, but 3 games this year I have stayed in my picks that they're going to win by double digits for 2 of them, and then 1 by 17 or more. And I got those right when I did.
I'll go back and check it. Anyway.
I have a spreadsheet. Just ask me on Twitter, at Jacob Camp, and I will post it on Twitter.
Go for it. Post it on Twitter.
Okay, I will.
Anyway, moving on. We're getting into the stats portion of the broadcast.
So now's your time to check out and
if you need to go to the bathroom or something, it's
come back in 20 minutes. We'll talk about whatever people are posting.
It's not going to be 20 minutes, but you get to hear my sweet dulcet tones.
Ooh,
yes,
swoon.
Yes. Anyway,
deep peanut butter.
For the Heisman Watch, I've got a new entry into this week's Heisman Watch. It's really a 3-horse race. You could even call it a 2-horse race if you wanted to.
Oh, God. Don't put him in there.
Lamar Jackson.
No.
Quarterback of Louisville. Look, I got to put him in. His numbers are good. I will say that he doesn't really have a shot because of Louisville's record this year. Last week for Lamar, 15-26 for 195 yards passing, 3 passing touchdowns. He also ran for 147 yards and another touchdown. So on the year, 60% completion percentage.
Hey, that's 10% better than before.
Yeah, it's better than it was last year. What I was looking at, he's going to have a better year overall than he had last year. He's going to have a better year passing. He's going to be maybe a little bit under what he was rushing last year, but he's still going to have a great year. 60% completion percentage, 3,000 yards passing as of right now, 21 touchdowns and 6 picks through the air, over 1,100 rushing yards and 15 rushing touchdowns. So he's got 36 total touchdowns right now, which is it is impressive. He's averaging about 4 a game. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, he does have good numbers. But you're right, that
he's probably not in the race. He'll probably get an invite to New York, but I don't see any chance of him winning it, especially with Louisville maybe going 7-5 this year.
Yeah.
So, to the 2 people that actually have a chance, Bryce Love. That win last week against Washington was a big one for Bryce. 30 carries for 166 yards and 3 touchdowns. Putting his total on the year, 181 carries, 1,622 yards, and 15 touchdowns. I think he gets to the 20 touchdown plateau for running backs, and that is a big number because if you get to 20 touchdowns as a running back, you should be invited to New York for at least the ceremony. You should finish top 3 usually in a normal year. And the fact that he's doing it in what is considered a Power 5 conference, I know it's not a strong Power 5 conference, but nonetheless it's Power 5. Mm-hmm. So he solidified his spot in the top 2, I feel like. It's been a great year for him. Him missing that game and a half, really. I think he missed against Oregon State, and he wasn't 100% healthy the week following, but he still put up somewhat decent numbers. I think that may hurt him come the end of the year, missing the 1 game.
Yeah.
It was against a far inferior opponent. Oregon State's like 1-9, and they he just missed on a spot to run for another 203 touchdowns.
Hey, as far as the running back portion of this goes, I think Saquon Barkley has dropped off more than Love, so I think he beat out as far as best running back goes. But his numbers are as great as Bryce Love's numbers are. You can't match up with your number one here.
Yeah, well, Saquon Barkley, I do think he's out now. I don't think there's really any way for him to get back in. The 2 losses really hurt, and the fact that for 3 weeks in a row he's had negative rushing yards in the first half, it's not Heisman-worthy performances that he's putting up week to week anymore.
Yep.
But my number one, Baker Mayfield, as usual.
Here comes the sweat.
18 of 27 for 333 yards and 3 touchdowns and 50 rushing yards in the win versus TCU. Now, he does not run the ball a lot, but 50 rushing yards, he had 11 attempts. I think that includes sacks. So 50 rushing yards is pretty impressive for him, considering what he normally does on the ground. For the season, 71% completion percentage, 3,500. Yeah. I mean, that's the reason that I like him so much, and I understand that he's not a first-round pick. He's not prototypical size for the NFL, and sometimes he makes a little bit risky throws downfield. He goes for the long ball a little too much, but I think he could make a good NFL quarterback with the efficiency numbers he puts up. But anyway, 3,559 yards, 31 passing touchdowns, 5 interceptions only, and 5 rushing touchdowns on the year. So he's got the same number of total touchdowns as Lamar Jackson. He's got a better completion percentage, more passing yards. Yeah. Total yards, he's actually got less than Lamar Jackson, but Oklahoma right now is in the top 4, and I think that's when you're looking at Heisman moments, those big wins that Baker Mayfield had and those come-from-behind wins, those will be what pushes him forward, kind of like it did for RG3 a couple years ago. Anyway, that's it for my season long. It's basically those 3. Probably can narrow down to those 2, Bryce Love and Baker Mayfield at this point. I've got Baker right now. I think most of the country has Baker Mayfield winning right now. So unless he has a bad week coming up and they lose another game, I think he's got it locked up.
I will say, to your credit, I think these are... I think your top 3 in the preseason schedule or special. I think you had Baker Mayfield. I think you had
Sam
Saquon and Sam Darnold. I think were your 3.
Yeah. So
and you're kind of close. I mean, you mentioned Lamar Jackson only because last year, but you were talking about how it's garbage that he won the Heisman with 50% completion.
I'd like to at the conclusion of this season, I'd like to go back and look at our first. Yeah. Our preview special and see how we fared, all of us, with some of our predictions. And
I will say, you didn't have a lot of faith in Bryce Love, and I told you, people aren't going to miss McCaffrey.
Yeah.
I was right about that.
I mean, yeah, whatever. Anyway, on to
Danny's Dudes.
Okay. I'll let you intro that every week because you seem to love that.
Don't ever call it Weekly Heisman again. That was stupid. Danny Dudes is so much better.
Yeah, okay. All right. For the quarterback position this week, Nick Starkel out of Texas A&M takes home the award. 21 of 30 for 416 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. A 55-14 win versus New Mexico. Now, Nick Starkel, I'm not sure if he's going to start this week against Ole Miss, but if he does, I think you should take Texas A&M. I'll get to that in a little bit. Anyway, running back Malcolm Perry out of Navy. They run the option offense, so I understand why people are growing at me picking a option running back. Yeah, like that. But he did have 33 carries for 282 yards, almost averaging 10 yards a carry is impressive no matter how you do it.
I'll revoke that.
4 touchdowns in a 43-40 win versus SMU. Yeah. And then for the wide receiver position, A.J. Brown out of Ole Miss. 14 receptions.
NFL player?
No. 14 receptions for 185 yards and 2 touchdowns in a 50-22 win versus Louisiana Lafayette. 14 receptions is impressive.
That's crazy.
Even if you don't score twice and get 185 yards. 14 receptions means they could not cover you all game. So, as always, if any of you listeners have incredible stat lines from the weekend,
it's not going to happen.
Send them in to @BYSC Podcast or @DubDish for a chance to be featured in next week's podcast. That will be on every week of this show. I guarantee it.
That's fine. You know what? That's fine. I can respect that.
Yeah, you can respect that. Now move on
to the most fun part of this podcast.
We'll see.
Whoa, bro.
Okay.
Is back.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing justifiable this week, but that might interchange in this segment. Whoa, bro, we haven't done it in a while. That's when I talk about some crazy stuff that's been going on in the college football world. Mm-hmm. We get to say whoa, bro, after every time I say something. You know, it's fun. It's kind of annoying in some cases.
Right.
But fun stuff.
Yeah.
So, our first whoa, bro brings us to Tennessee State. Defensive end Latrell Lee is expelled from school and kicked off the team.
Yes.
That goes without saying. After punching the strength coach twice during Saturday's game. So, this strength coach, TJ Greenstone, his game day job is to just simply keep athletes from getting too close to the sideline to avoid, that penalty, the sideline infraction,
Yeah.
That's his only job. Just, hey, don't stay on the field if you're not playing on the field. And I guess that
Seems
really
pretty
pissed
simple.
off Latrell for some reason, and he just goes up and just decks his coach twice in the head, makes him fall to the ground.
Yeah, we've tried to do some research on this. We don't really have a reason for this yet.
Yeah, that's the greatest part. That's why I'm laughing. There's no explanation why he did this. So I thought it'd be fun if we just go ahead and let's talk about why he did this. What do you think? What could be the reason?
Well, let's go with something that's more likely first. This is the strength coach, yes?
Yep.
So something that would happen during practice or during weight training. Maybe there's some history here. Maybe there's some beef.
How dare you made me do burpees before the game?
Yeah, I don't know. Latrell Lee, this was senior day too, by the way. I believe he was a senior, and he hasn't been playing much. He hasn't been starting in many games. He came in he was backing up a D-end, and he got into some games earlier this year, but he's never really been a first-team rotation player. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I mean, maybe he just said, fuck it, senior day, I'm going for it. I don't like this coach, I'm going to knock him out. He got a little too close to him. I don't know. Maybe the strength coach was talking about his mother. We can't know for sure.
I think during weight training that week,
Uh-huh.
he was struggling on bench and he couldn't get the rack up or the weight up, so the coach just let him choke it out a little bit.
I see.
Made him almost make his face turn a little blue.
So it was payback.
Yeah, and before he helped him, and maybe he just didn't even help him. Maybe he just left him there.
I didn't see the game. I haven't seen all of the video. Maybe this coach was just following him around. Maybe he was sitting on the bench. The strength coach was still holding him back, just holding his jersey the entire game on the sideline. He was like, you know what, fuck this, and knocked him out. I don't know.
Maybe Latrell was going for something to drink. Maybe he needed one of the little Gatorade canteen things, and
the coach just squished it. So
yeah,
no,
AJ's like, no, just like slaps it out. And
right. Yeah.
Says, "Welcome to the Pac-12." And
Here, I think any of these situations are likely, but we won't know for sure until we hear from Latrell.
I think maybe one of Latrell's friends was about to get arrested for doing some damage downtown, and AJ and TJ was getting him in trouble, and Latrell's sticking up for him.
I will say, TJ Greenstone, I saw his picture, does not look like a nice fella.
Not a good mug.
No, I'm thinking he may have said some stuff. Some down in the south stuff. Might have pissed off Latrell, and Latrell wasn't feeling it. His senior day, I'm going to do what I want.
Maybe he didn't take too kindly to some
didn't take too kindly
verbal exchange that might have taken place.
Yeah, something has to be up here. You don't just deck your strength coach and get expelled from a school on senior day. So it'll be interesting to follow that in the next couple days. Somebody's got to figure it out. Someone's got
to say something about it.
Yeah. I'm sure the school's going to try and keep it quiet, but somebody's got to come out. Some reporter's got to get a hold of somebody.
Someone at least just say it was a concussion and he had no control over his body. At least tell me something. Work with me here.
All right, what's the next one?
You never said, "Whoa, bro, do it." By the way, okay, maybe upset. So save it for this one. Arkansas quarterback Cole Kelly suspended after being arrested for a DWI.
Whoa, bro.
Yeah. So come on, bro.
There you go.
We talked about this early on in the season. Is it that hard to do the right thing, Danny?
It's not that hard.
How many times have you been suspended?
0.
All right. How many times have you been arrested?
0.
Yeah. And, you're a pretty old dude.
Right. I'm 27.
Mid-30s or something.
Yeah. I mean,
come on.
I don't know the full story here.
He's the backup quarterback, and you finally have a shot to make your name. Make a name for yourself. And you're starting as an Arkansas quarterback.
He's the starter down there now?
Well, the starter got hurt, so he played in this last week's game, and I think they won. Arkansas ended up winning.
They did. They barely beat Coastal Carolina.
Well,
maybe that's why he was drinking.
Probably.
Look, you never know. All DWIs are typically they're different. I won't say that they're all different. I'm sure there's been some similar scenarios out there. But the beginning of the year before that Florida State game, that Alabama linebacker got a DWI for falling asleep in his car. But he had the keys in the ignition, and Alabama law says that means you're driving while intoxicated. So, I don't know.
Hey, at least he didn't cuss out the officers.
At least he didn't cuss out the officer. He could have made it a lot worse. He's going to get at least a game suspension, I imagine. I don't think he'll be expelled like Mr. Latrell Lee, but...
No, he has 1 game suspension, and they're going to evaluate afterwards.
Yeah, I think...
Was his driving with influence justified?
No, that's never justified. Jesus. All right.
And then the last one.
Yeah.
4 commitments, and Danny touched on this earlier. 4 Tennessee commitments back out after Butch Jones gets fired. One, this is, first of all...
Whoa, bro.
Thank you. Second of all, what about Butch Jones is so... What redeeming qualities does he have? And I would really like to know that. So any of you 4 commits, if you're listening to this live, which we don't even do live, if you want to call in and let me know, like, what about him made say, oh no, Butch Jones is gone? I can't go to Tennessee anymore. Unless he's offering you drugs or women. If it's drugs or bitches, I get it. Or money.
I don't know if it's entirely about Butch Jones here. I think it might just be the entire state of the Tennessee football program.
Then why would you be committed to this team all season? What about the season said, oh, they're going to be all right?
This might have been the straw that broke their back. If a coach gets fired, it's kind of a way out. It's kind of when you can say, I'm decommitting because you guys have no idea what you're doing or what direction the program's heading in now. You don't know what coach you're going to bring in. So... I get it.
And what's funny is that this brings Tennessee's like one and only like top 10 recruiting class out of the top 10.
Yeah, that is one thing that actually Butch Jones has done well. He's been a decent recruiter over the last 4 or 5 years. But I get it. I get why the recruits left.
Oh, I get it too. I'm just surprised that that's what made them leave.
I just think it was the latest in a string of events.
And one thing that I saw that was kind of sketchy is that one of the commits, his last name is Engel. He was like one of the top recruiters. Apparently, he told some reporter that he spoke to Butch Jones that day. Mm-hmm. And Butch Jones told him to go find another place quickly, and that Butch Jones would contact him if he found anything.
Like I said, Tennessee, always good with the hiring and firing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean that's gotta hurt Tennessee a little bit. They gotta be a little frustrated with that, and I'm not sure it's entirely legal what Butch Jones did there.
Especially that's why he's getting fired.
Especially if this commit ends up at a school where Butch Jones ends up later. I'm pretty sure it's tampering. But
shoot, that could have been the reason why they fired him. Maybe they just found out about all the stuff he was doing with these recruits. Like, no, get out of here.
No, I mean that sucks. I mean that doesn't look good on Butch Jones. It doesn't look good on Tennessee. If a coach came up to me and told me to leave that school and get far, far away, I probably would too.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a part of a dysfunctional program.
Yeah.
You're going to an SEC school, D1 school. You want
high school's already hard enough as it is. I don't want to put that stress on me.
Yeah, but you want to, if you got dreams of the NFL like a lot of these kids do, you don't want to be a part of a program that's going to get laughed at.
Yeah.
Okay.
Third committee rankings released on the 14th. That's yesterday.
Yes. No.
2 days ago.
2 days ago. Tuesday. Always on Tuesday. The top 10 were Alabama, Clemson, Miami of Florida, Oklahoma, Wisconsin, Auburn, Georgia, Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Penn State. These rankings solidify one thing in my mind, and that is the Pac-12 is pretty much done for.
Yep.
USC is still at 11. I believe they were at 11 last week. They're at 11 this week. Winning out, I don't think gets them in anymore. Unfortunately, that's just how it's worked out for the Pac-12 this year. But having all of those Big Ten schools ahead of them, and you've got 3 SEC schools and 3 Big Ten schools ahead of you, not to mention Notre Dame, it would be insurmountable for USC to come back and make
all
it
these
into
teams
the
have
top
to
4.
lose.
Yeah, but the problem is they'd all lose to each other, so teams would be hopping USC. USC is going to be stuck at a perpetual 11.
In my eyes, there's only two lost teams that have a chance of making it. That's Ohio State and Auburn. Those are the only teams I can see with 2 losses making it in there.
Yeah, I can see that.
So now I'm going to bring in your whole point about the conference championship, and that's what's going to keep Notre Dame out.
I don't know. I mean, this committee seems to love Clemson. A 2-loss Clemson might get in. I don't know.
But this late in the game, I don't think so. Because who would they lose to at this point?
Miami, who's number 3. So in a close game, I don't know.
Yeah.
If some of the other teams below them fell, I don't know.
If Wisconsin is undefeated and Oklahoma's still up there, I don't see...
Well, if Wisconsin's undefeated, they're in, so that's going to take up a spot.
Yeah, and I don't see a 2-loss Clemson hopping a 1-loss Oklahoma. So...
Yeah, I mean, if the teams below them win out, it's not much of a case. But if the teams below them start to drop, if Oklahoma loses, Wisconsin loses, Auburn loses, the Auburn, Georgia, one of them's going to lose in the SEC championship if Auburn beats Alabama. So
Yeah, so as much as I hate to say it, and, it's unfortunate, but a team like Ohio State who got romped by, who was it, Iowa? They can still make the playoffs with 2 losses and lost to a team like Iowa.
I mean, they're a long shot. Let's be clear. They're a long shot.
It's not that long. I mean, look, if Auburn loses again and then beats Bama.
Okay, Bama's still ahead of Ohio State.
I know, but and then Miami loses this week and then beats Clemson in the ACC championship.
Clemson's still ahead of Ohio State.
There's 4 spots. And Oklahoma loses in the Big 12. And Wisconsin loses to Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State's going to be that 4 or 5 spot.
I don't see it. I think a lot of other things got to happen. Because I think in that scenario, Bama and probably Georgia would be ahead of Ohio State. Clemson would be ahead of Ohio State. Miami might even be ahead of Ohio State with 1 loss.
Look, I hope you're right. I can see it happening, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Every week, me and the guys like to...
I wouldn't count on Ohio State being in there. Let's just say that.
We'll see.
I mean, it is odd to me that Clemson's number 2 and Oklahoma's number 4. That's a little strange to me. They're obviously putting a lot of stock in the fact that Kelly Bryant wasn't 100% in that Syracuse game.
Mm-hmm.
Because that Syracuse loss is the worst loss of any team in the top, I'd say 10 even.
You think Ohio State's loss to Iowa is better than the Syracuse loss?
Iowa's ranked, or was.
Not when they beat Ohio State.
But they were 20th last week.
Because
Syracuse won't even make a bowl.
Iowa beat Ohio State, who was top 4 at the time, right?
So, okay.
And beat them 50-something to, what was the score? 55 to...
24, I think.
Yeah. I mean, got destroyed by an unranked team.
Okay.
And then Clemson loses to a close ACC matchup.
Yeah, Syracuse. A Syracuse team that won 3 games last year. A Syracuse team that probably will not make a bowl game this year.
What's Syracuse's record now?
We can look it up in a minute, but I don't see how you value Syracuse over Iowa. If Syracuse and Iowa met head-to-head, who do you get? Iowa.
Yeah, Iowa.
It's not even a question.
But then
it's not even a close game.
And you bring back in Clemson didn't have their starting quarterback during the game. Ohio State had everybody, and then still got destroyed. Clemson lost a close game without their starting quarterback.
That's what I'm saying. They're putting a lot of value in them not having Kelly Bryant. I think it's a little ridiculous that Clemson is above a no-loss Miami who just beat a top 5 team.
Oh yeah, in that case, I mean I understand that, but I can understand the value of making the Syracuse loss not as big as an Iowa.
And let's Miami. They got no losses. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
What were they last week? 7? 6? 7.
Yeah.
7 they were, because they weren't in the top 5. 7. They beat the number 3 team by a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Great. You jump all the way up to 3. That's cool. Oklahoma was 5 last week. They beat the number 6 team by a lot. And they move up to number 4 and get hopped by Miami. That's a little crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I get that Miami has no losses.
So you think Clemson should be 4, Oklahoma 2, and Miami 3?
I would like to see... Yeah, I mean, I would have a little bit of trouble with Miami at 2, even. I would like to see Oklahoma at 2, but it'll play itself out. I think it's crazy that the value that they're putting on that. They're basically ignoring that Clemson has that loss to Syracuse. They're basically saying it didn't happen.
I can see that.
There's no penalty for it. No penalty.
Yeah, they're number 2 and they lost to Syracuse.
Yeah. And they're ahead of 3 technically, undefeated teams.
Mm-hmm.
They're behind one undefeated team who doesn't have that great of a resume either. But they don't have a loss. So, I don't know.
They beat Mississippi State. They're top 16.
Yeah, and I get that Clemson's played the most, more than anybody else. They played more teams that are 500 or better. Great, but they're not playing a lot of top 10 teams.
I think you just need to accept the fact that you and the committee think very differently.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Extremely differently.
And that is clear every week, and I will continue to argue my point on this podcast.
Oh, goodness.
All right, so we're heading towards the end here.
Oh, God.
We're at about 45 minutes.
I don't like these upset picks anymore.
Great. Anyway, Recap of last week's upset picks. Danny took Army over Duke. And Army did beat Duke 21-16, moving Danny's record to 4-4, 500 on the year. Hooray. Jake picked Utah with a 1-point spread over Washington State. Washington State ended up winning that game by 8, 33-25, moving Jake's record to 3-6. Ooh. Frank, always fun to have him on, picked Iowa over Wisconsin. Wisconsin beat them 38-14, moving Frank to 0-2 on the season with a combined score of about 20 to 66 for the two upset picks he's gone with. Not great, Frank. Not great.
Get yourself together.
Joe sits at 2-2. He did not have a pick last week because he was not on the broadcast, and he will not have a pick this week. For our upsets of the week, I went with Texas A&M over Ole Miss. Texas A&M, they're 6-4, 3-3 in the conference. Ole Miss 5-5, 2-4 in the conference. Like I said earlier, Nick Starkel, if he starts, I think Texas A&M wins this game in a romp.
In a romp?
In a romp. Even though they are the underdogs by 2.5 points. This is a Saturday night game in Oxford, Mississippi. But I do not have much faith in that Ole Miss defense. And I'm starting to like this Nick Starkel.
You get a little sweaty now?
No.
Not at that level yet?
No. We'll see what Texas A&M is. They're notoriously hit or miss. So
yes.
We'll see.
I'm fishing for another win here.
I almost went with this as well.
Number 19, NC State, is an underdog to Wake Forest. Let's let that sink in for a second. Wake Forest is projected to win against a ranked opponent. Wake Forest having a great season for Wake Forest, but a ranked NC State.
Did NC State lose to Boston College last week? Or did they win?
They beat Boston College.
27-21? Okay.
Mm-hmm. NC State's last loss was to Notre Dame, I think.
Okay.
Or Miami, or whoever they played last.
Okay. So,
I'm only taking this because it seemed like an easy one for me to get, and I need to get another win in here.
Yeah, I mean, it's in Winston-Salem. NC State, they don't have to travel far for it, at least. It is an interesting game. There weren't a lot of great upset picks this week. There weren't a lot of great picks to make on any side of it this week, as you'll see when we get to our game of the week and my Danny's money. But I tend to agree with your pick here, NC State, as long as they play like they have been most of the year. I think they could have a letdown. Wake Forest has a decent defense, but so does NC State.
Yeah.
I like your pick. It's a 1.5 point spread.
Just keep in mind, Wake Forest almost lost to App State earlier this season.
Yeah, but
on a last-second field goal block, that's the only way they won.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the next segment.
All right.
Danny's Money. This segment is new. This is where we're going to talk about if you had Daniel's money, which he doesn't have a lot of, but if he did, what would you put it on?
My betting record isn't great this year. I'll admit that before we even get started on this, but I do want to. I do enjoy this segment. This is going to be a little. I like to have a little bit of betting in the podcast, which is nice. So, just for everybody to understand before I get started into this, I'm going to kind of breeze through it. But parlays. Parlays are matchups of 2 or more games where you take the spread as it is. You have to win them all or you don't win anything. If you win 1 and lose 2 or win 2 and lose 1 in the parlay, you lose the whole parlay. You have to win all 3 if it's a 3-team parlay, whatever. You have to win all of your games in the parlay to win the money. Teaser is the same as a parlay, except in the teaser you get points. So, for example, I took Mississippi State in a teaser this week. They're minus 12 against Arkansas, but the teaser would then put them at minus 6. So you get 6 points in your favor. Some betting sites offer up to 10-point teasers, that kind of thing. I typically stick with the 6-point. So when I talk about teasers, it's a 6-point swing your way. And then single bets, it's just how the spread is. Pretty simple to say. So for my 3-team parlay this week.
Wait, before we begin, I'm going to throw a little curveball at you.
Oh, jeez.
I'm going to give you a $100 bank.
No,
I want you to tell me how many you put on each one.
$100 bank.
Yeah. You have to split the $100 up against your 3 Danny Money picks.
Okay. All right, here we go. 3-team parlay. We'll start with that. And like I said, that's just 3 matchups all have to win for you to get the money. It's an underdog special for Danny this week. You would get good value on your money here. Army plus 2.5 at North Texas.
North Texas is projected to be Army?
Yes. I would take the money line in all of these games. It gives you the better odds. These spreads are so small that you just need them to win. Money line means the team just has to win. No spreads involved. Texas A&M plus 2.5 at Ole Miss. I talked about that in my upset of the week. And then NC State, Jake's upset of the week, plus 1.5 at Wake Forest. That would be my 3-team parlay. Oh, since they're all underdogs, I wouldn't put a lot of money. Let's throw 20 of the 100 on this.
All right, $20 on this underdog parlay.
All right.
Viewers, listeners, make sure you're doing this.
Okay, don't do this at home. I'm not telling you how to spend your money. And you shouldn't bet anyway. That's
Yes,
not,
he is. No, you're right. You're telling him how to spend your money.
Right. Telling him how to spend my money. Anyway, then a 3-team 6-point teaser for this week. Mississippi State minus 12 versus Arkansas. Means that they move to minus 6, so Mississippi State's got to beat Arkansas by 6 to basically draw the bet or push the bet. But they got to win by more than 6 for me to win the bet. Now, Arizona State, minus 7 versus Oregon State. That'll move to minus 1. So Arizona State by 1 or more points over Oregon State. Oregon State, like I said earlier, 1-9 on the year.
Ooh.
And then Georgia Tech versus Duke. They're 6.5-point favorites. That would move to 0.5, basically a straight-up spread. I just got Georgia Tech beating Duke.
I like those.
Yeah, I like it too. I think it would be good money. I'll put a teaser. You don't get as great of a payout as a parlay. I'll put $35 on this one.
All right.
So
that's $55 now. You're going to put $45 on
we
a
are
single
putting
bet.
$45 on this single bet, and it is West Virginia minus 3.5 at home versus the Texas Longhorns. Can you remind me what Texas's record was last year?
Shit, let me think about it. 5-7.
5-7, and they are on the road at West Virginia with Will Grier and David Sills on that offense. Good luck, Texas. I think West Virginia is going to take it. $45 on that single bet.
Do you know what Texas' record is this season?
Texas's record this season?
Yeah.
Are they 4-5 or are they 5-5?
Please hold.
I think they have 5 losses.
Oh, Texas.
Either way, those are the Danny Money picks of the week. I'll keep track of them throughout the season so everybody can see how terrible I am at this. Remember, betting is not for everyone, and probably nobody should be doing it. It's illegal in a lot of states, so just keep your eye on that.
Make sure you go to the dark web.
No, don't do that. Vegas does allow it. So what is Texas' record?
I couldn't pull it up. My internet's...
All right. I'll go ahead and pull it up. How about you go talk about your game of the week?
All right, so game of the week. And that was Danny's Money, so please post a comment on what you think about this new segment. I think it's going to be exciting. Definitely round out the season, and next year when we're talking about football, definitely something we'll probably bring on, depending on your feedback that we will not get. Game of the week. I have the only top 25 versus top 25 matchup, and that is 8-2, number 24, Michigan, at 10-0, number 5, Wisconsin. Wisconsin is favored by 7 points. This was going to be my upset pick as well. Then I got scared because last week against Wisconsin did a lot better against Iowa than I thought. And then I saw the NC State one. I'm like, well, I need a win, and that's easy.
Yeah.
Michigan's obviously struggling on offense. They have O'Korn on there, and the starting quarterback for Michigan, who's a prestigious school, 1 passing touchdown and then 5 picks. That being said, they still put up 30 points these last 2 weeks, and it's against the same teams that Wisconsin has also been beating by scoring 30 points. So offensively, against the same defenses, they're doing about the same output, and then both teams have very similar numbers on defense. So when you're looking at stats from that standpoint, they seem pretty similar. I think with this kind of matchup, and then my last thing I want to say before you start jumping in and telling me about how wrong I am, Danny.
Okay, great.
Jim Harbaugh, I think he's a good coach, and I don't think he's going to let his team go 1-3 against ranked opponents. I think he's going to pull another win out there. The only other ranked opponent they beat was number 17 Florida, and we all know how undeserving that was. So I think Harbaugh will get this team ready to go, and I think Wisconsin won't see it coming.
Hey, I mean, it's a bold prediction. I like it. I will say that I think Wisconsin holds Michigan under 10 points in this game. That is my bold prediction for the week. But
you heard it here first.
Yeah, Wisconsin moves to 11-0, holds Michigan under 10 points, 10 or less. I will give them 10 or less for this week's.
Well, that's not bold.
Yes, it is.
Keep it under 10.
No, 10 or less. By the way, Texas is 5-5 on the season. Do you want to know who they've beaten?
Not really.
Okay, San Jose State,
They only have 1 win.
Kansas,
They only have 1 win.
Baylor,
They only have 1 win.
Kansas State, who's a little bit better, but
Yeah, they
not
have 5
great.
wins.
Not great. And Iowa State. That is their one decent win.
Yeah.
So,
And who do they have to finish the season?
hooray, Texas. West Virginia and Texas Tech. Texas Tech's a winnable game. So is West Virginia, apparently.
They might get 6 wins this year.
They might get 6 wins.
That's an improvement from last year.
I think it's going to
Take
come
that,
down to
Charlie Strong.
I mean, according to my single bet, it's going to come down to that.
Yeah.
That game 12. That'll be interesting.
So let's see if Danny loses $45.
Okay. They didn't put a real $45. That was your imaginary bank you put on.
You did.
No, I didn't. All right. Anyway, on to my game of the week. SMU. 6-4 SMU at number 21 Memphis, who is 8-1 on the season. Their lone loss being to UCF by a lot. Anyway, it's a noon game on Saturday. Memphis is favored by 13 points, and I know you're saying, wow, 13-point favorites? Why are you putting this as your game of the week? And I'll tell you why.
Great.
The over-under is 73.5 points. This is an exciting game to watch. I think it could be very similar to SMU's game last week, where they lost 43-40 to Navy. This will be high scoring. Riley Ferguson's going to throw like 18 touchdown passes. So keep your eye on that. Look for that to hit the over. That'll be a fun game to watch. That's the only reason I picked it as my game of the week. Memphis should beat them, but I think it's two high-powered offenses. You're going to see maybe both sides put up 40-plus points. That'll be impressive.
Okay. I think Memphis wins this by not that close, but...
Okay. What did you want me to look up earlier? Was there another... I don't remember what it was earlier in the podcast you wanted me to look something.
Nah, we're long past it. It's okay.
All right.
So let's go ahead and take it over to social media and find out what you listeners who don't even really listen to the podcast want us to talk about.
All right, we're closing in on an hour, so we got about 4 minutes to talk about this.
Okay, so you want to pull it up real quick?
You want me to pull up the Facebook comments?
Yes.
Do you remember what the first one was from our Cody Summerlin?
I haven't read them yet.
Let's take a look.
I saw that Cody's comment something, but I did not read it.
Okay. All right, here we go. I've got it pulled up. Cody Summerlin says, the House passing the GOP's tax reform bill. I'll let you take that one, Tom.
Thanks, Carl. Yeah, the House Republicans, they did win this matchup, 227 to 205.
Nice.
And it was a big victory for them. This, as you all know, corporate tax rates will be cut from about 35% to 20%. And, it's an interesting outcome for this, But
did the committee get it right?
I don't know if the committee got it right. And the Senate GOP is next. They're not going to pass that. They're not going to pass it.
Okay.
There's no way they pass it.
That is astounding analysis. On to the next thing.
And,
Oh, okay, you're still going.
And then this has to get passed before Congress looks at it. And all this is in an effort to get this on the president's desk by Christmas. And, Tom, it's not going to happen.
Okay.
I like it. I like where they're going with it. I like the enthusiasm. They just don't have the players to back it up.
Gotcha.
I'll take the over-under on this one.
Great. Fantastic. Spot-on analysis by my co-host.
I do have past experience of doing political podcasts.
Yes, you do. That one time. All right. Anyway, Cody also commented. This is a twofer for Mr. Cody Summerlin this week. He hits us up and says, and if there is any truth to the Chip Kelly to Florida rumors. Now, Cody.
It's everywhere.
I'm gonna handle this real quick. We talked about that earlier in the podcast. Just rewind about an hour, and you'll find it in our top 5. He's being vetted. That's all I'm gonna say at this point. That's all I'm willing to commit to at this juncture. I'm gonna go ahead and say he's not the next coach at Florida, but he is being considered.
I hope that answers your questions.
Yeah, great, fantastic. All right, we've got one more.
Ooh.
Chris Brown says, yeah.
The famous person?
Not the famous Chris Brown.
The rapper?
No, not that Chris Brown. The other Chris Brown says, yeah, the coaching circus that's about to begin.
Ooh.
How do you feel about the coaching circus?
It's going to be a crazy year. We have Chip Kelly being vetted, and we have Frost leaving UCF almost certainly. You have Butch Jones leaving, Les Miles still looking for a job.
Yeah. So you got 2 SEC East schools out there looking for a job. Rumors of Dan Mullen leaving, Jimbo Fisher leaving. Where's Lane Kiffin going to go? Scott Frost.
Lane Kiffin's going to stay right where he is.
Lane Kiffin's going to stay at Florida Atlantic. I think he's got... I love Lane Kiffin, but the man's got too big of an ego to stay at Florida Atlantic for too long.
You just like him because he looks like Daniel Tosh, who you also have a...
No. That is not the reason. I just love... I love guys out there with a little bit of ego, a little bit of swagger in their step, a little bit of cockiness. So I think Lane Kiffin's going to have to move on soon. He's doing what he needs to do at Florida Atlantic. He's probably going to win the conference.
It's going to be decided this week. You should have chosen that the game of the week, FAU versus FIU.
It's
at
FAU.
FAU.
It's an important game. Florida Atlantic is double-digit favorites, though.
Oh.
And Florida International did lose a game, so this may not even end up deciding that game if Florida International wins.
Yeah. So yeah, lots to talk about. I have no idea where all these teams and coaches go. I hope Chip Kelly gets passed. I'm just not crazy about him, and I would like to see Frost isn't going to go to Florida either. But
there's people thinking that Frost will stay in Florida. I don't know where, but somewhere in Florida they think he stays.
Hey, he'll take Jimbo's job after Jimbo goes to
I know.
TMU.
I went on and on about Scott Frost and his Nebraska connections recently, but I don't think. I honestly don't see him going to Nebraska after reading some of the articles lately about how his love-hate relationship with Nebraska. He didn't actually have the greatest 4 years there. So anything's possible. I hope he stays at UCF. That'd be fantastic. I think the SEC East is due for an overhaul. Vanderbilt even could probably do with a new coach sooner rather than later.
They're not going to grab any big names like that.
No. But, there's a lot of big names out there. John Gruden even.
John Gruden's being looked at for Tennessee.
Yeah.
John Gruden, who's been an analyst since his Buccaneer days.
And John Gruden, the man who also said, I believe earlier this year or late last year, said if he was your college football coach, he'd get into a recruiting violation within the first few months. He said he loves to get out there and recruit, but there's too many rules in college, and he knows that he would, probably not knowingly, but he would commit some sort of recruiting violation. So I don't know. I don't know how bad some of these teams are going to want him after hearing him say
He just has
stuff
an
like
ego. It's fine. It's all talk.
He's a great coach, but I think he likes where he's at.
Yeah. So there you have it, Chris Brown. Keep making some great music, all right, man?
Great. Fantastic. I think that's going to end it for us today. We are over the hour mark.
Shit.
Yep.
Well, you enjoy us talking, and we enjoy talking to you, so you're welcome. And that's another great edition of Backyard Sportscast. Please let us know if you do listen to it. And if you are listening and you made it this far, I would challenge you to please drop a comment somewhere in social media or on this video and tell us what you like and don't like. We would love to hear some feedback.
And if you just skipped through this like every 10 minutes to see if there was anything interesting going on and reached the end at this point, screw off.
Yeah, we don't need you. We're doing fine on our own.
Yeah.
So long.
I can't find the stop button.